Hello to everyone. This episode is legally in defense of the jury against Amber Heard's lawyer. This is our objective approach on the 7 issues Attorney Elaine Bredehoft thrown out there after losing. We are not really leaning on any side here, but if the result of this topic favors the other side, that's just pertaining to this specific story. We have plenty of episodes in store that we intended to publish one by one. Actually, we are not yet supposed to start, but we were alarmed after the decision in the Johnny Depp case and we do not want to keep our opinions to ourselves anymore. The truth is, we were contented watching this Hollywood legal soap opera up to what we thought was the end. Until there comes Miss Heard's lawyer, Elaine Bredehoft, the day after the judgment, doing the damage control, still portraying Miss Heard as a victim and raising issues that are unfair. This did not sit well with our team because we saw how fair the presiding judge was, and we are under a strong presumption that the jurors are the same. The friendly stenographer was also attacked as being very friendly to Johnny Depp's legal team. For sure, like in any other jurisdiction, she cannot sway the decision to anyone's favor. Since the presiding judge and the jury normally would not speak on the matter, we wanted to put it out there, the fact that they have been really fair. Let's address Attorney Elaine Bredehoft's unfounded criticisms against the jury and the presiding judge. There were 7 issues raised by Attorney Elaine Bredehoft. But just to give you an idea about this channel, this is WitsArk Research, a legal team which I had as a counsel. This channel shall showcase the digested legal stories from the lower courts up to the Supreme Courts from different countries. We shall also do summarized stories from best-selling books about financial wisdom, and there are also some health research and some entertainment tidbits too. But mostly we shall focus on brief summary of laws affecting people globally. The episodes in this channel shall be narrated since we want more for you to listen and learn as you do your everyday things. However, if you get confused and wanted the full story, you may email us at witsark@gmail.com. We shall reply as time permits. Now, as to the first of the 7 issues. First, that Miss Heard had presented a mountain of evidence, yet she didn't win. Legally speaking, there is a concept of weight of evidence. It is based on the credibility or persuasive value of evidence, not on a number or volume of evidence presented. It does not speak of whose side has more witnesses, more photographs, and more videos, or who has expensive and popular experts. It's funny, but you do not even have to be an expert to know the truth in this defamation case. The jury simply used their common sense in understanding who should be penalized for what, in determining what the truth is. In a particular set of facts presented, we as counsels, or even ordinary people, often ask the question if the act is in consonance with human experience, or contrary. It only means that given a scenario where one claims I was abused, you look at the demeanor of the defendant, Miss Heard, and how she is in relation to her ex-husband. How did she treat him? How was she treated? And what do the witnesses say, and what do the videos show, and what the audios say? While it's an open trial and we witnessed her audio chasing Johnny to the bathroom, who would like to avoid fighting her, but she would not let up by banging and banging and banging the door, according to Mr. Depp, and putting all her weight in. Mr. Depp was trying to avoid the confrontation by closing the door, and then she yelped in pain, so Mr. Depp was worried she was somehow hurt by the door going close. And when Mr. Depp kneeled to see how her foot was hurt, she kicked the bathroom door into his head strongly. hitting Mr. Depp's head, and then she hit him in the jaw. That probably sent him dizzy as a consequence, first with the door and then in a split second after he was hit in his jaw by Miss Heard. Then there's an audio where she admitted to hitting Mr. Depp but states she is not punching him but hitting him. For heaven's sake, what on earth is the difference between the two when Miss Heard states, "I did not punch you, I was hitting you. Babe, you're not punched." Mr. Depp said, "Don't tell me how it feels like to be punched." Then again, Miss Heard yelled, "You didn't get punched, you got hit. You're fucking baby. You're such a baby. Grow the fuck up, Johnny." Then in yet another altercation about Mr. Depp's finger being cut off, Miss Heard's audio mocked Mr. Depp like this: "Tell them I, Johnny Depp, I'm a victim of domestic violence, and see how many people will believe or side with you." So what is this mountain of evidence Miss Heard and her legal team were talking about? How do you reconcile those words coming from Miss Heard to her claim that she was abused? I think you have to be insane to have a finding that the character and situation of the one speaking in those audio recordings was that of an abused woman. Surely the weight of her mountain of evidence is of less persuasive value, as Miss Heard's own voice in those audio can hardly be considered a voice of an abused woman. It should be noted that she was not acting in those recordings, while Attorney Camille Vasquez claimed that her testimony on direct is the best performance of her life. Not that I was echoing the insult, but it is common sense and in consonance with human experience for us to try to please others to give us our intended result when we are being watched. So, the raw voice recording were massively believable because Miss Heard was not motivated to act when those incidents were happening. And also, not to insult Mr. Johnny Depp, but hearing his voice say, "Don't tell me how it feels like to be punched." He seemed to be just a boy being punished by his mother. He was not acting like a man of strength at all. In civil cases, the burden of proof required of the plaintiff is preponderance of evidence. Simply put, does plaintiff's evidence outweigh that of the defendant? Now, if we use the other standard of proof, which is the clear and convincing evidence, this is higher than the preponderance of evidence, which begs the question like, is Miss Heard telling the truth about being abused, or, to put it in another way, was she in reckless disregard for truth? The evidence presented speaks of the greater probability that she lied. So as to the mountain of evidence of Miss Heard's team, sad to say the mountain is not made of rock. Yes, Miss Heard has evidence of verbal abuse, but both of them cursed each other a lot. They both said things that you normally would not say to a person you love and respect. They bombarded each other with the F word, which is an utter disrespect and a sign to run away from a relationship. They both caused each other emotional harm because understandably both are emotionally unstable, being both drug users and are very fond of alcohol. In this sense, both are in pari delicto, meaning both are at fault, and Miss Heard has no right to say she was abused in this manner, and Mr. Depp has no right to say he was abused too. But as to physical violence and sexual violence, it appeared that Mr. Depp is not that kind of monster as Miss Heard portrayed. He is also not a wife beater, but there's evidence that Mr. Depp was a battered husband. As to the second issue that Mr. Depp is a celebrity, well, both of them are. This seemed to have been forgotten by counsel Elaine Bredehoft. Maybe she was referring to Johnny Depp being a bigger star or have been long in the show business than Miss Heard. But Mr. Depp was losing so much money all these years, and let's not forget, he seemed to have lost his influence on those who previously employed him by reason of the wife-beater brand labeled on him by the Sun and Miss Heard. WitsArk believes that he has lost most everything he valued, like trust and credibility, as well as the majority of his fortune. Yes, he still is probably rich but not wealthy anymore, as we might think of some big star who started showbiz in their early age. He still needs to be employed as an actor to recover the major losses he had all these years. The third issue of attorney Elaine Bredehoft was that Amber Heard was demonized by Depp's legal team in the courtroom and online. The legal team of Johnny Depp are capable attorneys, and they came prepared, as we saw. But no one ever heard them portraying Miss Heard in a different light. They only pinpointed the very obvious, and that is hard. Not hard to do. The best evidence they have against Miss Heard was her own voice. She was caught to be the husband beater, caught in many lies, including the alleged donation she made to those two charitable institutions, caught lying about James Franco being a resident in the same building just to cover the reason why he was going to Mr. Depp's penthouse close to midnight and when Mr. Depp was not there, caught in the pretense that Mr. Depp was so deep into alcohol and drugs when she was doing the same. There were many lies she peddled in the hearing that the jury could no longer afford to find for her, even though there were evidence that Mr. Depp also abused her verbally. There is a Latin word or phrase often used by lawyers, and that is falsus in unum, falsus in omnibus, meaning false in one thing, false in everything. At common law, it is the legal principle that a witness who testifies falsely about one matter is not credible to testify about any matter. This seemed to be the looming impression on Miss Heard not only by the jury but by the viewers. We even came across ordinary folks who normally would not pay attention to this Hollywood drama, but it was surprising that they have the same opinion as the lawyers. Let's just say there is no monopoly of wisdom here. As said earlier, it is a matter of common sense, really. What's worse for Miss Heard was that she easily jumped into accommodating another man as she saw the date and time stamped on the surveillance video, showing that she was not really loyal to Johnny Depp. And it was her in the video with James Franco on May 22, 2016 at around 10:57 p.m., the night before the filing of her divorce. She filed the divorce on May 23, 2016, after she was allegedly hit by Mr. Depp with a mobile phone. But Mr. Depp denied these accusations and through his reps said this: Ms. Heard was attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse. So Mr. Depp's representative viewed this as a legal strategy so that Ms. Heard can ask for a hefty settlement. She also filed the TRO on May 25, 2016. It was clear that it was James Franco who was with her that night before she filed for divorce. But what about her video of cuddling with Elon Musk on the same elevator of Johnny Depp's private penthouse? Why was there no time and date stamp on this? And this rendezvous should have been somewhere else, not on poor Johnny Depp's own private penthouse. But since she got the TRO, no Johnny will disturb her in whatever activities she conducts there, and sad to say, there seem to be many. The truth is, it was Johnny Depp who wanted to leave Miss Heard, and she seemed to have preempted him as she filed for divorce first, knowing he will divorce her. This is the reason why Johnny Depp's representative stated Heard was attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse. And why did Miss Heard lie that James Franco is living in the same building? I think this one is obviously to give innocent reasons why Mr. Franco is with Miss Heard on the Johnny Depp's private penthouse elevator. Were they having an affair? You be the judge. But this is not the trial for that. But in this third issue, the reverse is true. It was Johnny Depp who was demonized, and people across the world believed he was a wife beater since 2016 after a scheming divorce filing and a TRO. If there was anything bad done to Miss Heard, it looks like her own voice did it to herself. But we stand with the fact that both of them abused each other verbally, only that Mr. Depp got abused more because he suffered physically and financially. He was also emotionally stabbed by Miss Heard's unfaithfulness, sad to say. This is the most painful of all. Now to the fourth issue raised by Attorney Bredehoft, that Johnny Depp lost the wife beater libel case in the UK court, insinuating he should have lost in the Fairfax County Court too. All right. All lawyers know this. Every crime has its own elements, and these elements must be proven before you can beat the perpetrator of a crime. Let us be specific. For libel under the UK law, the elements are: number 1, publication of the statement. So, was there any publication? Yes. Number 2, that the statement was about the claimant. Is it about Mr. Johnny Depp? Yes, again. Number 3, that the statement was defamatory to the claimant. Was the wife beater headline and content defamatory to Mr. Depp? Yes, again. And last of the elements is number 4, that the defamatory statement met a threshold of serious harm. That is, that the publication of the statement has caused or is likely to cause serious harm to the reputation of the claimant. Did it damage Mr. Johnny Depp's reputation? Yes, and he even lost most valuable projects. Basing from these elements, there is no way that the Sun could have won in the libel case filed by Mr. Depp when they published the article with a title name or a title Wife Beater. But the Sun won anyway for reasons that there was no actual malice, allegedly, on the part of the Sun, as it was their source, Miss Amber Heard, who claims she was abused and testified about it. But she was not sued by Johnny Depp during that time. But if we were the judge, we could have asked the Sun, hey, before you publish, did you get the other side or Mr. Depp's side for comment? Now, why should you ask this question? Because it takes decades for an actor to build his reputation, and it only took a minute for the reader to have a bad impression of him, and suddenly what all the world knows from 2016 up to May 2022 was that Mr. Johnny Depp is a wife beater. So Mr. Depp could have won the trial there based on the elements of the offense committed against him, but he did not. The trial judge should have used the elements in his decision because that is how it works in the courts. Based on the elements, that's where you would find that there is malice. And since the case was not aired like the U.S. trial, there are people who could mislead others, but you can Google the elements and see for yourself. These elements are just one of the reasons why the UK judgment was not considered by the US Judge Penny in the defamation case against Miss Amber Heard. The second reason was why the UK judgment was not used was the fact that Miss Amber Heard was not made a party to the offense. If the son lost in that case, Miss Heard is not liable. There will be no judgment against her for the simple reason that she was not a party to the case. She was not sued by Mr. Depp, and we really don't know why. Maybe because he still cares for her that time. We don't know. The third reason why the UK lower court judgment was not used in the US lower court is that Fairfax, Virginia County Court is an equal body of the UK lower court. Not only that, Fairfax, as an equal, is based in a different country, a different jurisdiction. And most importantly, lawyers do not use the judgment of the lower courts as a law on the matter in this dispute. Also, if the source of the decision is not the Supreme Court, lawyers do not use it. If they do, there is no persuasive effect. That's just how it works. Also, take note that even the Supreme Court's decision cannot be used in a particular case if the jurisprudence is not in all four squares, as well as we call it, with the case at bar. Even if, say, hypothetically, the UK judgment came from their Supreme Court, as you saw, it was Johnny Depp versus The Sun, a tabloid. It was not Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, a person. In the UK and US trial, the only similarity is the source of the wife beater article. As to who published it, it was The Sun. The harm was done by The Sun, who believed Amber Heard without even a slight verification. Amber Heard did not publish. It was The Sun. If The Sun at least checked whether the story is true or not, then there will be no harm done to Mr. Depp. The article could have been published with a caveat because there was no confirmation whether it is true or not. There was no due diligence. There was no evidence. There was no convincing evidence. They buy the story maybe because of it being so highly controversial. A scoop can hardly be ignored. There is probably the sense of urgency to be the first to publish the wife beater story. So the court's decision there cannot dictate the jury and the presiding judge in Virginia, Fairfax County Court. Yes, Ms. Heard's legal team was not allowed to tell the jury about the UK's judgment, but you all know that the UK court is neither the higher up of the Virginia Fairfax County Court, and we witnessed a fair trial. The presiding judge did not allow the dismissal of Ms. Heard's counterclaim when Mr. Depp's legal team moved for its dismissal. In the same way, when the presiding judge did not dismiss the case against Ms. Amber Heard. Ms. Heard's legal team had as much opportunity to prove their case as Mr. Depp's team. Now, number 5, that the verdict was a setback for women. This one is true. This is a setback for women, not because Mr. Depp beat his wife and sexually assaulted her and then won the trial. This is a setback for women because women often go to court due to being psychologically, physically, and economically abused by their husbands or lovers. We've interviewed more than 1,000 women in my 15 years of practice, and it's ugly. Most accused men were arrogant and unapologetic despite very strong evidence against them. No means to raise another family, and then another extra family, but they do anyway. have extra women in their life. The women here come scared and could hardly speak in court. And when we say the evidence were strong, we really mean that the wounds are proven by medical certificates and pictures. Affairs are flaunted by men, and gaslighting to the max occur frequently. We normally advise women to be financially independent from the husband so they can steer their lives in their own direction. But the truth is, most women would just withdraw the cases we filed after the husband or lover asked for apology. That's too bad. But you know what the truth is? At the start, we were really rooting for Miss Heard. We wanted her to be right. In many parts of the world, violence on women and girls really happen. There's just been only 3 times in my 15 years of practice as a counsel that a man filed a case against a woman. But when they do not lie because it is more embarrassing for a man to claim that he was abused. Being created biologically is stronger than women. That's why in any jurisdiction, men are usually the abuser because he is stronger. Just see for yourself who works as bricklayers, carpenters, mason, construction workers, etc. This proves they are usually physically stronger than women. So when they come alleging physical abuse, it is usually against a man's reputation in a community, and in this case, in the world. So Mr. Depp did not file a case of abuse against Miss Heard. He would not be believed, so it appears that he just wanted to divorce her. This case was filed not because he was physically hurt, but because even though he was the one physically hurt and betrayed, he was defamed. This case of Mr. Depp would now cast doubt to the credibility of each woman coming to the authorities because of what Miss Heard claimed that she's been abused, but the evidence, especially her voice in a number of audio, were very telling, meaning there could hardly be an abuse because she sounded like she was the assailant. Now women, especially in third world countries, might be questioned if they are just making it up, and the police might say, hey, there's this Johnny Depp factor, meaning we have to prove harder to the authorities our case before even getting a probable cause finding to elevate the case to the courts. So in a way, there's really a setback because of this case where a man was wrongfully labeled an abuser when he was the one abused more. But we must point out that this is a setback not because Mr. Depp won, but because a woman claiming she was abused was proven by the court to have lied. Now, as to the jurors' issue raised by Attorney Elaine Bredehoft. Number 6, that the social media have played a huge role in the verdict that was rendered. That the jurors go home and there's no way they couldn't have been influenced by it. As to this issue, we think it is fair to state that with or without the social media, the jurors will still find for Johnny Depp, even if, say, this case was not televised. Why? Because a person has to use only his or her common sense in deciphering who was telling the truth. No law background needed for this simple case. If a woman comes saying all that Ms. Heard said to Johnny Depp in the audio, it is impossible to believe that the jury will rule for Ms. Heard, knowing that she was even banging the bathroom door, seeking to have a confrontation with Mr. Depp. She was the one instigating the fight. No juror will find for a woman who was admitting in the audio that she was hitting him but not punching him. No woman would be believed if she caused her husband's finger to be cut off and then taunt him, saying, "No one will believe you are a victim of domestic violence." Come on. Let's say it is a different person and not Miss Heard. doing this and saying those things, do you even think that a little child will believe? What else do you expect from a jury who has more experiences in life than a child? There is some truth to Attorney Elaine Bredehoft's statement that jurors go home and there is no way they couldn't have been influenced by it. Yes, the jurors go home and probably get a reinforcement of their findings. Just a reinforcement of an already firm view that the abused spouse is not misheard. It should be understood that before the viewers see what was aired online, it is the jury who were first witnessing and observing all of the things that were happening in court. Not only where the cameras lead us, but where their eyes lead them. They have personally witnessed, aside from the evidence presented, the manner of those in trial. Now, the last issue, number 7. A number of things were allowed in court that should not have been allowed. The presiding judge was very fair. There were evidence from both plaintiff and defendant that were not allowed in pursuance of the rules of evidence. Otherwise, there will be a disorder. In the final analysis, WitsArk stands by the judgment of the jury and the very capable and fair guidance of the presiding judge, Penny. Kudos. If you sit down and think of it, no abused woman will ever say the words we heard from Miss Amber Heard in the audio, and also no woman who sounds like a fighter than her husband would be subjected to abuse. Somehow, we could not fathom why Miss Heard strongly stated this, I, Johnny Depp, I am also a victim of domestic abuse. Let's see who would believe and side with you. Unfortunately for Miss Heard, the jury believed him. Although he is not an ideal person to marry, he is more believable than his ex-wife. This episode is simply our observation based on law and evidence. We support women's rights, especially when they are real victims of domestic violence. We also support men's rights when they are not violent. WitsArk is in no way against Miss Amber Heard. Both of them have their respective good qualities. We love Johnny Depp for his causes, and definitely Miss Heard has talents, beauty, and strength. But put them together again in one room, you might find a sequel to the movie War of the Roses. Remember, no one is all good and no one is all bad. Thanks for watching and listening, and hope you hit the subscribe button and learn with us as we publish our other episodes. Very soon, we shall. See you again. Ciao.